So, good evening to all. First of all, I'll give a brief introduction about our research topic. So, our research topic is an enhanced multifunctional transport layer for uh, heterogeneous data in wireless communication. These are our group members. This is our protocol name, which is referred to as EMTP, and these are some of the reasons for the designing of our EMTP protocol. And the EMTP protocol supports different kind of data behaviors such as small and large data with high and low transmission frequency as mentioned in the slides. This is our overall system architecture, and these are some comparison of our protocol with existing transport layer protocols. So this is the simulation we use to test to compare the transmission time of our protocol, and this is the simulation we use to compare the transmission time of the throughput of our simulation protocol. So this is the simulation that we use to test the data broker functionality of our protocol. So this is my component in the progression of my component in the EMTP protocol. Yeah, in this protocol, the data broker supports dynamic data transfer by classifying data based on the size and the transmission frequency of different kind of data that travels to our protocol. So these are some sample types of data which is categorized under size and transmission frequency that support under our transport layer protocol. So when we talk about the classification of the size limit for the classification of the data, according to the researchers we have referred, the most of the text-based data readings and text-based IoT data readings, the size limit is mostly less than 2 MB of size. Therefore, the size limit for the classification we have established as the for large data it is greater than 2 MB. That means 2 million bytes. So small size data less than or equal to MB. So when considering about time limit for the classification, this graph shows the throughput of the TCP traffic for over Wi-Fi, which will takes about 12 to 16 seconds to transfer 2 MB of data, which we have mentioned above. In here, this graph represents the throughput of the UDP traffic over Wi-Fi, which will takes about 1 to 3 seconds to transfer 2 MB of data. And according to above time limits, we have the UDP takes about minimum 1 second to transfer those 2 MB data, and TCP takes 12 seconds. And also the new TCP Neurano protocols and other improvements of the TCP protocols further decrease that 12-second limit by another 1 and 2 seconds. So the transmission frequency time limit we have established as high transmission frequency less than or equal 10 seconds. Low transmission frequency we have established as if it is greater than 10 seconds is low transmission frequency. So this is the overall classification of the our data transmitting to our transport layer protocol, and I have put some categorization ID to uniquely identify it in our code base. So to implement our data broker, we must have some sort of data structure to store, search, and query those data. So I have analyzed these mentioned set of data structures, and most suitable ones are hash table and binary trees. So in hash table, there's a small problem like when there's a hashing the key value, some multiple key values may get same hash value when storing in the bucket, which will will affect the access time, since because it will take O(n) times to access those buckets iteratively. So as that binary search tree will only take log(n) time to perform all these operations. That's So I have selected bind search tree to as a data structure. In our protocol, this is the data broker tree structure. We store the details of the application we are communicating with. For the key, I have used a combination of destination IP and port and hash that value to uniquely identify each node which may correspond to each application. And in the left child, all the left child are the key values is less than the parent key, and the right child, all the key values are greater than parent keys. And this is the data broker node. The details we are storing in every single node of the tree structure. This destination IP, port number, key, and timestamp of the last transmission to filter out the transmission frequency, and the left child and the right child pointers to the left and right child nodes. And this is the base implementation of the header file of our data broker nodes. And when we consider about the whole tree structure, I have used static root pointers to maintain one global state of the tree structure, which will allow us to only take login times to perform all the insertion and querying operations. And the filterization of the data happens in the filter method using the find method that I have implemented in data broker. And this is the base implementation of that data broker whole tree structure. And this is some implementation how I convert the destination IP and port number to generate unique hash value as the key of the tree structure in every node. And this is the classification time limits that I have done in NSC simulation for classify depending on the size and the transmission frequency time. And this every time this is the demonstrate every time when new node is discovered, it is treated as reliable data and it is categorized as 4, which will treat it as a reliable data. I will demonstrate some progression that I have done in my data broker. And this is I have sending data to 3 different types of devices, the IP address and port number. It is discovering for first time and will take some time to transfer data. All the 3 nodes are unique and first time discovered in a tree structure, so it will initialize each node uniquely, and the transmission ID is 4, which is reliable. I have sent 3 types of data, and then in the next I will send 3 to same application, which means IP and port number, but with different sizes that will help to filter out the categorization ID depending on the transmission frequency. This is initialized and it is the new node, this port number. To the same number, 100 MB is sent, and the transmission frequency to last one is 5 seconds. So it will filter out it as this categorization as this, and it is 2. And then again I have sent to same port and IP address, and the last transmission time for last transmission frequency is 10 seconds. And the categorization differs according to this categorization ID. And now the Tanusha will explain about his progression.
Thank you, Ranmal. My component is low frequency data handler, and it's reliable for enhanced transmission time of eMTP using congestion window tuning. Here this component support small and large data transferring with low transferring frequencies. And here all the enhancements are done under mainly 4 categories. Those are enhancing the slow start phase, and enhancing the congestion avoidance phase, and optimizing the congestion window cutoff value once the packet is dropped. And also I have introduced retrying with less congestion window reduction. And when it comes to enhanced slow start phase, this is the current slow start algorithm, and it is a linear algorithm, and it increases the congestion window in a linear way like this. And the enhancement I have done is introducing a new algorithm which can additively increase the congestion window in a slow start phase. And I have tested different variations of that algorithm, and I have selected the algorithm which correctly identify the congestion level of that network and reach that level very quickly. And also this version provides the optimum transmission time and throughput enhancement, and this is the selected version of the algorithm. in here I have recorded some demo of the simulation. Here you can see the source code of the updated slow start algorithm, as well as here this is the simulation code. And once I run the transmission time simulation, it finally logged the transmission time, as well as it tried the congestion window of the transmission profile. Then using GNU plot, I can plot that congestion window graph. Here you can see that graph of the selected algorithm. And next simulation that I have used is to calculate throughput, and this simulation send data continuously and calculate throughput, and finally print the average throughput of the transmission. Next, when it comes to enhanced congestion avoidance phase, the current congestion avoidance algorithm is also a linear algorithm. Then the enhancement that I have suggested is increasing the congestion window with a decreasing rate like this. Here, by doing this change in this initial stage, we can send more data than the linear algorithm. To do that, I have developed a new algorithm, and to get that decreasing rate, what I have done is, once a packet is dropped, I have stored that congestion window value. Then I get the current congestion window value and get that difference. As you can see here, that difference is decreasing with the time. That's how I get decreasing rate. And for that difference, I have tested it for different ratios to find the optimum transmission time enhancement and the throughput enhancement. And this is the recorded simulation of that. I will skip it for now. And when it comes to enhance the congestion window cutoff value once a packet is dropped, currently the congestion window is dropped to 50%. And to find the optimum value, what I did was I have used transmission time simulation and throughput simulation to select the best value. In here I have selected dropping that congestion window into 64%, as it provides the optimum transmission time and throughput enhancement. And this is the recorded simulation of that. Then what I did was introducing that retime with less congestion window reduction once a packet is dropped. In here, what we can achieve is we can mitigate the losses by fake packet losses, especially in wireless networks. Here you can see once a packet is dropped, that congestion window is dropped by a small ratio. And also you can see here, if more than 2 packets are dropped in short range, that means there can be actual congestion in that network. In that case, I will drop the congestion window by the original ratio. And here, in here also I have tested it for different retry counts and different drop ratios, and I have selected the optimum parameters which provide the optimum transmission time and the throughput. This is the recorded simulation of that. And after integrating all the above mentioned enhancement, I have achieved 38% enhancement in the transmission time, and also it affects the throughput by 2%. Then after that, I have compared that integrated version with the other TCP variations. In here you can see that EMTP performs very well in the transmission time simulation, and the throughput is bit low than the original TCP Neuronode performance. And here is the recorded version of that comparison. And the task I plan for that next iteration are the testing this enhancement with more complex simulations, and also fine tune those enhancements. And next I will hand over to Vimukti.
Thank you, Renosha. So my component is handling the transmission speed for small data which has high transfer frequencies. This is more suitable for data types such as patient's heartbeat information, so geographic XI location coordinates, so climate change informations. So the current TCP problem is that okay, so in here you can see that this is the existing TCP code. So in here, this is the method which receives the initial request. So as you can see, this method is always trying to send a SYN packet without considering the receiving data's behavior. So as an improvement to this, what I have done is, this is a part of the modification I have done. So in here, what I'm doing is, I'm just assigning a default values to the source code so that I can reuse them later. And also in here, I'm ignoring the initial SYN packet sending method. So So this is basically what I'm doing. So actually researchers have found that in TCP the connection establishment phase can take up to 1 minute sometimes. So for in EMTP, for small data which has higher transfer frequencies, we are going to exclude the connection establishment phase, and we are going to send the data from the first packet reset. So to do that, we have written a simulator. So in the left side, you can see a part of the simulator code, and to gain a better understanding about the improvements, this is the method breakdown structure of the NS3 simulation TSP code. So in here I just mentioned the main methods. So whenever the simulator start the start flow method, it will redirect the packet to the do connect method. In there the packet will try to send a SYN packet, and then after that method return a 0 value, the simulator will call the write until buffer full method, which will invoke the send pending data method to send the rest of the data. So I have modified the connect method, do connect method, forward up and do forward up methods, and also TCP TX buffer classes. So because of these modifications, actually we don't need in the modified EMTP, we don't need these first 3 rows. From the 4th row itself, we can send the data. So this is the sample demonstration what I am doing. So in here, I have already added some debug points to the source code. So I'm now starting the application. So you can see that first request is to the start flow method. So once we continue, the request will go to the do connect method. So in here we can check the state. If we check that it's in the closed state, so which means we are still in the sender's end. So I'm just continuing. In here I'm ignoring the sending SYN packet, and I'm assigning default values to the source code. So once we continue from here, the request will go to the write until buffer full method. So this is the repetitive method. Run until all the data packets are sent. So I'm go line by line, and when I'm continuing, it will hit again and again to the same debug point. Therefore, I remove that. So after that, once I continue, the request will go to the send pending data method. So in here, the actual data will send. If we check the state, it is in the established state now. In the original code, this is in the SYN send stage. So I'm continuing. So this is also a repetitive method. It will run again and again. Therefore, I'll also remove the debug point from here. So once we continue from here, the request will go to the receiver send. We can check that by printing the state. It's in the listen state. In original code also, this is in the listen state. So now once we continue, the second packet received. So we can check the state. In here, you can see it is in the established state. So in original code, this is in the SYN received state. So now my friend Aravind will continue the presentation.
Thank you, Vimukti. So my part in this research is the enhanced retransmission and error control mechanism of EMTP. So the supported data types of my component is small and large data with high and low transfer frequency. The objectives of my research is to first find the behavior of RTT in wireless and LAN networks, then build a simulator to mimic the RTB behavior, then use those results to enhance the RTO calculation algorithm. So in the first phase, I have used you can see 2 graphs here. First one is the LAN network. As you can see in the LAN network, the RTT fluctuations are very low, and the RTT value, average value, is about 1 millisecond. In here, the wireless medium, you can see that the RTT fluctuations are very high, and also the average RTT value is above 1 millisecond. Then what I did was I have devised a parameter, that is the distance between the source and destination, that I have tested in the real world scenario. So I have tested for 1 meter, 2 meter and 3 meter. So as you can see from the graphs, the RTT value fluctuations slightly increase due to the distance, but it is not the main factor. So according to these experiments, I have determined that distance is not the main factor, and the main factor is the signal strength of the network. So after that, I have used the NS3 simulation to build a peer-to-peer wireless network, and I have used the following propagation loss models to simulate the wireless environment. These are the comparison between real world and the simulated network that I have built. As you can see, the RTT fluctuations are similar in both cases. So SRTT is the main component, one of the main components which is used to calculate the RTO value. So I have used the simulation to test with different signal strengths and distances. As you can see in the second graph, when the signal strength is weakens, the SRTT value fluctuates greatly. So this is the current existing RTO calculation algorithm that is used to produce the RTO value. Here they use two values, alpha and beta, to calculate. These are weight coefficients, and these coefficients are constant all throughout the calculation. So first, then I test the default RTO behavior in the simulation. Because the alpha and beta values are constant, this graph is obtained. As you can see, only the rapid increases of the SRTT results in the increase in RTO value. When the SRTT decreases, the RTO value does not immediately decrease. So this is the problem that I have found in the current algorithm. So next, what I did was change those alpha and beta values to see what is the behavior of RTO. So in this example, I have equated alpha to value 1 and beta I left at default value. As you can see, the SRTT value fluctuations are increased very much, but the RTO value is not fluctuating. So this is the result that I have taken from the first experiment. Then what I did was increase the beta to 1 from 0 to 1 and left the alpha value as default. In this, you can see at every SRTT fluctuation, the RTO value is increased. But as you can see, but when SRTT decreases, the RTO value will not immediately decrease. It will decrease on the next fluctuation, next increase. So by taking those experiments into consideration, I am currently planning to replace those alpha and beta values using a separate variable which is dynamically changing by taking RTT values into consideration. And also I have run some simulation and so that the RTO flow value is set to 1 second. This is a big difference in every simulation I have found. So I can, in future progress, I can also reduce the RTO value to a lower value than 1 second to increase the retransmission time of a lost packet and also increase the transmission time of the whole network. So this is the network simulation I am going to demo you. In the first place, as you can see, we can set the receiver signal strength from here and the distance from between source and destination from here. And these are the two models that I have used to mimic the wireless networks, and you can set the distance from here. After running the experiment, after running the simulation, I have currently using these variables to determine an algorithm. So in the first column, you can see the previous RTT minus the current RTT. This is the current RTT of the network. This is the smooth RTT, and this is the smooth RTT minus the current RTT value. So after running the simulation, after running the simulation, I obtain RTO and RTT values in two files and use GNU plot to plot the graph as shown. So this is the end of our progress presentation. These are our references that we have used.